Thank you. Okay, so I started the Terraform apply while we are waiting for the others to join. Okay, so our agenda was to remind you guys that we will be implementing a Lambda. We will be implementing a Lambda in the said VPC. Okay, and that Lambda will communicate to S3. And get the package and then deploy it to the application server, right? So this is our agenda, which we are trying to perform. Okay, so for this purpose, what all we need to do, we will do it one by one. Okay. So first thing first, what is Lambda? I explained you in great detail in previous class that Lambda is a serverless functionality from Amazon, where you do not have to worry about the server, the dependencies, the IDs, and everything which is required to run a particular code. But you can just simply write your code in the form of function in different supported languages, which is called as runtime, and you will be good to use this. Okay. So let's give it a name. Okay, so I will be giving it a name like deploy, right? Deploy war or something. Deploy war. Version I would be taking Python. Architecture, this one is good. If we have an existing role, service role, deploy war, Tomcat role. This is the role we will be using. You want to see it. What is the permission? So this is like I had previously created, or you can create a new role with basic Lambda permission. So this will be created by your AWS itself, or you can create a new role with given by giving your policies and role name. Yeah. So currently I have an existing role, so I will be making use of that. You can go to here and this is the role. And as we have to connect to S3, so I have given it a S3 access, and also we need to connect with the EC2, so EC2 full access we have given, and AWS Lambda basic execution role, which will be auto-generated. Like when I created it first time, I did it like use and create a new role. So initially it will give you this particular policy attached, and later based on your requirement, like I need to connect with EC2 and S3, so I have given that. It has SSM full access also, because maybe I would, when this Lambda role was created, it would need SSM access as well. Okay, so I will be using this role only. Okay, so what all permission is, you should be like, when initially you will create, just click on this, create a new role with basic Lambda permission. So whenever a Lambda gets created, associated CloudWatch log group also gets created. So for that purpose, by default, it creates a policy. Okay, so that policy will be attached, but these you will have to explicitly attach based on your requirements. Suppose you need to have the EC2 access, right? Like in our case, we need to connect to the EC2 instance, right? So for that purpose, we need to have the access on EC2, right? It also needs to connect to S3. So to get the war file, so for that purpose, there should be the permission. Okay, so this is what it is. So use an existing rule, advanced setting. Now I want to deploy the package on an instance which is running in private subnet of a VPC. Okay, so on private subnet, a VPC, sorry, EC2 running in a private subnet. If we want to do anything from outside of VPC, suppose my Lambda is running here, then I will have to come to internet gateway, then some bastion host, and then I will have to, in the end, we will be able to reach the application server. But I do not want this. I do not want to travel this much. So what we can do, we can create a Lambda inside the VPC only, and that will be able to connect directly to the instance. Because inside the VPC, if we are creating something, those will have the connectivity, right? They can connect. If the firewall is open, they can connect easily. They do not need to communicate through internet. Yeah. So for that purpose, in the advanced setting, we will go and we will enable the VPC. And let's see if our VPC got created. Yeah, everything is green. So let's select the VPC, the one we have created. So Terraform VPC LWP Labs. Subnets, you can select private or public subnet, that doesn't matter. But we are selecting the private one. You can select more than one as well. Okay. At least 2 subnets. Anyway, it is also same. Okay, and public subnet 1. Both I am selecting. Choose security group. Okay, so which security group would work? Allow web server security group will be good because this has the access on application server, if you remember. So, however, this is not required for it. Allow web server. No, not allow web server, but the allow app server. Yes. We would need to create another one because we need SSH, like as we want to put some files onto it. So we will doing it by SSH. So we would need to either update that web security group or create a new one. Okay. So better to create a new one. Or let's see. Let's open another tab. And go to security group. Bastion host. Okay. So let's create a new security group because any one of this does not satisfy Lambda security group. Allow access to app server. Yes. Okay. Inbound rule is anyway not necessary for it. because we want to outbound, we want to go to connect to the EC2. EC2 has app traffic should have the SSH open. Okay. So let's see the app allow it. So yes. SSH. And let's create now one other security loop for Lambda, and that we will put here. Okay, tab. This one and then Lambda security loop. Let me add everything all to security. That's fine. And let's create this security group for Lambda. And we will be putting it here. I believe it is still creating something. Okay, we will need to do it, refresh it actually. Add role, SSH. So this is what we can do. And now select the security group, refresh it. Okay, let's click on create function. Okay, so we have created a function and you can see here a sample function would be available. Okay, so import JSON def lambda handler. What is this, guys? As you already know, what is this? Yes, now. So definition of function. Okay, so in Lambda, every time you will get this Lambda handler function. This is the entry point for a Lambda function. Okay, so this should be there. Okay, you cannot remove it. If you will remove it, you will get the error. So it is creating the function deploy.var, but for few seconds. And then we will go ahead and do the other stuff. Okay, so creating the function taking few seconds, few minutes now, I guess. So meanwhile, it is doing this. So whenever you will be creating the function, so the first thing which will be shown here is this, that a sample will be created. And here you can see the different tabs. So here test event you can create with which you can test your code. Okay, for that purpose it is there. We will see all of this in seconds. Then we have the monitor. So every Lambda function will have the CloudWatch logs integrated. So if you will click on here, so you can see a log group will be created with for that function. Okay. And what will be the log group name? So it will be /AWS/Lambda/deploy. What does not exist in this account or region? Okay, why? Because this function is still not created, so that's why it is created. But it is taking very longer than usual. Okay. Then the configuration tab, where you can configure like your memory, ephemeral storage, which will be attached to your Lambda, and then the timeout, like after how many seconds your Lambda function will time out. So by default, it is 3 seconds. If you need to modify, like you think that your program would need more time than this to execute, so you can change it. Okay. So if you think that your program execution will take 1 minute, so you can change it to 1. So it is still in creating mode, like seems like North Virginia region is quite busy right now. Okay, so that's why I am unable to update right now. So 3 seconds is by default. We will update it because anyway our program will not execute in 3 seconds because it has to connect to the S3, get the package, then it needs to connect again to the server, Tomcat server, and then deploy the WAR file, right? This is whole we need to accomplish. So for that purpose, we would need to update it. Yeah. So now successfully created. Okay. So it is successfully created now. So now we can change it. So either you can use this arrow or you can manually edit it. Okay. So now my configuration changed and now the timeout is 1 minute. Triggers we will see in minutes. Permission, you can see that we applied the rule in the very beginning. Yeah. So that particular role is having permission. Okay. Then destinations, we have not configured function URL, environment variables. If you want to have some environment variables as part of your function, which will be consumed by your Lambda function, you can pass here. Then the tags, if you have some tags which needs to be associated with your Lambda function, so that you can pass. Here in VPC section, whatever, if you are creating a Lambda inside a VPC, which is in our case is true, because I told you the reason that we want to connect to a private subnet server. Okay, so for that purpose, we have created VPC, then attached 2 subnets and 1 security group we have attached. So those information you can find here. Okay. Monitoring and operational tools. So we have already enabled logs and metrics through the CloudWatch log. That would be ready now because for the function deployment is completed. So you can see that if you want to enhance the monitoring, active tracing, code profiling, these all things you can do. Okay, you can enable from here. So like CloudWatch turn on the to collect the system level metrics, including CPU time, memory disk, and network usage. The Lambda is running on some server. So for that server, if you want to get some information and monitor that, so you can do that. X-ray is there, CloudWatch is there. So these all things you can go ahead and see, okay, one by one, and learn more about that and how can you approach that. Okay, concurrency means concurrent execution of a function. So at a single point in time, how many execution can happen? Okay, so this is not required for now, right now. And there are other functionality also available. So you can look into those. Okay. Fine. So this is about configuration aliases versions. You can publish a new version of it and everything. So now coming to our code part, which is the main part we need to do. So actually, what is our agenda is to whenever in S3 bucket, if new package is coming, so that should trigger this Lambda. That should trigger this Lambda. It is quite hodgepodge now. Let me draw again. So suppose this is your Lambda and this is your S3. And from our GitHub action, we have created the build, right? So every time a new build is coming, like new package is coming for the application. Okay, so here build.yml is defined. So no, it's not. It's packer build.yml. Package was there, yeah. So every time like this, we are checking out the Java DB login, which is the repository where our Java code is available. And we are setting everything and then packaging and putting it to S3, right? In future, like developer has developed some more feature and put it into Java DB login. So we want that to be also available as a WAR file in the S3, right? And so whatever development is being done, that will be stored in the S3 in the form of artifact. And every time a new WAR file is coming, so that the Lambda's responsibility, as soon as a new WAR file is coming, it needs to make it available to our Tomcat server, right? So how this behavior we can achieve, like every time in S3 a new WAR file is updated, it should trigger the Lambda. Okay, so for that purpose, there is a concept in Lambda which is called as events.
We hope you liked this class so far. To complete this project, please log on to our website, lms.lwplabs.com. Thank you for watching.